Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Zone Star State podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Ishmael Johnson and Ish. It's Thursday, December 5th, and we're here. I don't have anything to jump to here, actually. Nothing at all. It's this week has been insane. It's signing day. Signing day was yesterday on Wednesday, and it's sandwiched. What made it worse was LSU men's basketball played at 8 p.m. against Florida State, so I was there till midnight. Got home midnight. Tonight, the women play Stanford. I'll be there till midnight, so it's just all kind of blending together.
It's like a blur for you right now.
Yes, but I'm here. I'm here to talk basketball. Last night, I'll just keep talking. Last night, I had the quad box going. Oh, it was incredible. I tweeted it. It was Duke, Auburn, NC State, Texas, Mississippi State, Pitt, which was a blowout, and let me look at my picture. It was Creighton, Kansas.
Yeah.
I just had the quad box. I didn't move. For 3 hours.
Sunk into the couch or the chair. Just became.
I was like, I'm done working. Signing day is done. I got like 3 hours of sleep. I don't care. I'm watching this, and then I will pass out. Nice. Anyways, that was my week.
Yeah. Sorry. No, it's good. I mean, mine was pretty similar. I mean, it was a lot of social media stuff. Signing day, same thing. You know, we had our signing day show, so getting all that clipped up. I did not, unfortunately, digest much basketball last night as opposed to during the day today. I did crash when I got home, and I was like, you know what? I can take care of all this stuff tomorrow. So yeah, I took last night off. I did send one text to you over one particular game that I saw that one of my colleagues sent to me, and I was like, oh, okay, and we can talk about that results. Yeah, but that was the one piece of basketball I consumed last night before waking up and kind of taking care of the rest.
Yeah. We still continue to navigate football season here as we do a college basketball podcast.
Yep.
But we love it, and we'll jump right into it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start on the men's side because I think I said a few podcasts ago, the one team I really, really wanted to watch that we haven't watched yet was UTSA.
Yes.
And UTSA men really hadn't played anybody to this point. I mean, you know, they had lost to Bradley, lost to Troy.
I think they had the scrimmage against USC or something, I think.
Yeah, it had a scrimmage. Oh, yeah. And so to this point, I didn't really know what to expect, but one of my friends had texted me that St. Mary's and UTSA were going to overtime, and I wasn't surprised. My first thing I thought was I knew they were going to pick somebody off. I just didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah.
And so UTSA takes St. Mary's to overtimes and ends up losing 82-74.
Mm-hmm.
But this was our first real chance to see them against a high-level team and see them play in general.
Yeah.
And the first thing I'll say before I throw it to you is just Primo Spears
yes,
is a bucket.
He's gonna be. I mean, it's tough to gauge them this year because obviously we know this is going to be a multi-year thing with Austin Clonch, but I think he's going to be probably one of the highest usage percentage or possession percentage players in the country. I genuinely mean in the country, because right now he is that gem of a transfer get that they were able to get, and he's lived up to every billing, you know, so far. I think, let me see, what are his averages? I haven't even checked his averages for the year. He had 31 in this, or excuse me, he had 31 against Houston Christian, I should mention. So he's averaging 23, 2, and almost 4 on 43% from the floor. So again, really good. Obviously coming in from Florida State, high-level recruit, Duquesne, Georgetown, like he's been to a bunch of really good places. And he's lived up to the billing so far of being that high-level guard. I think he's by far and there he is.
Hey.
The daily Mezit interruption. He's by far their highest usage percentage guy right now at over 28% or 30%. Excuse me, I didn't.
30%.
Jesus, 30%. That's a lot. But he's a big time player, man. Like he's somebody who's going to steal you a couple games just by going off for 25 plus. And even against Troy. Which was kind of like, for me, a good indicator of like, you know, a team that's a little bit better than them, but they could have, you know, that's a team they could have gotten. I saw enough to where I was like, okay, like I'm interested in what he's doing. I think Primo had 20 in that game. But it's going to come down to a lot of those guys like Damari Monsanto and those guys being, hi, you going to come through again? Okay. Damari Monsanto coming through and being those next level guys, right? It's going to me, I'm not worried about if they get in a pinch, who do they need to get a bucket? That's Primo Spears. It's going to come down to who are the other ones that step up alongside him.
Yeah. And Marcus Melinder ends the game with 21 points. He's been kind of their number 2 at times this year.
Yeah.
The usage for him isn't like crazy, only at 18%. But in this game in particular, he was really good. And I was not familiar with Marcus Melinder. I mean, he transferred from South Alabama, so he's a young player. So he is clearly one that's stepping up for them. You mentioned Monsanto. I think he only went 3 of 14 from 3 or something like that.
Right.
And so he's going to get his shots up. They need him to shoot the ball. I mean, in general, outside of Spears, like stylistically, you see what Austin Clonch wants to do. You see the what he does, and none of it's a surprise to us. We knew they would take threes. We knew they were going to be guard oriented. I mean, they are 32nd in the country in tempo, so nothing has been a surprise. I still think, knowing what we know, and I do want to factor in the fact that we probably watched their best game of the season. So, that I try to be like, okay, this is really good, but they also barely beat Houston Christian by 7 and so on. So it's like I'm trying to take the good with the bad.
And I think that's gonna be interesting because, of course, when you play with that tempo, I believe they only, let me see, their average possession length only 16 seconds, right? So like they are pushing the ball. They're barely using half of that shot clock. And so like I do wonder, that's going to, it works both ways, right? When you generate more possessions, that generates more defensive possessions that you got to have. And when you're a team that, it's a math problem, right? You're giving the other team more opportunity to shoot the ball as well when you play up tempo. And so their defense has bitten them a couple times. I think obviously the goal is to have your offense be well enough to override that on the other end and be just good enough offensively and just purely outscoring them. But this is a team that's going to be, let me see, right now they're 259th in effective field goal percentage, right? Yeah. They're 276 in adjusted defense, or adjusted efficiency on defense. So that goes back to barely beating Houston Christian, right? Houston Christian's is 349 right now in KenPom, right? So it's like, you're going to catch yourself in some of these games where, oh no, they're scoring 70 plus because, we have a game where we're scoring almost 80. They're going to have opportunities to put up buckets too. So that's going to be the give or take. I would say for UTSA fans, the benefit I would take is the negative I remember from the Steve Henson teams was that we knew his teams were offensive oriented, but they didn't really produce that. And oftentimes you watch the team and you're like, I don't see that identity, especially once Jackson and Wallace left. You were like, what is this team's identity? You're seeing the team's identity without me. Okay, again, you have Primo Spears, but like you're seeing in year one already, you're seeing, okay, this is how he wants to play. And I think that's going to only get better.
Yeah. And I think he'll be able to get 1, 2, a couple top tier guards every year, and that's really important. We see North Texas do it. We've seen Rice do it in the past. Like in the American Conference, you have to be able to just go get a couple guards that can just go play and go get buckets, and I think that's really important. So, like you said, we see the culture, we see the emphasis from him. It's not going to be pretty year one, but I mean, again, this was our first real shot. They're 242nd in KenPom. I think they could be. They have like a higher upside than most 242 teams in KenPom is what I'll say. Like
I agree.
4 might be low, but they can punch up.
It's gonna be rough, right? In the AAC, we're not gonna mince words, right? This is one of the best basketball conferences. Buddy, you are just hyper today.
Look at that.
He's been like 3 or 4 times already. He's been all right. I'm gonna have to move a little bit here. It's one of the best mid majors in the country. It's the best mid major conference in the country, right? Yeah. And they may finish last. Like, that's just going to be how it is. But it's going to be similar to Karen Aston at UTSA year one, where we saw the little building blocks and the offensive rebounding, the defense that was kind of their year one. I think it's going to be a similar thing because this program needs a teardown, right? It's a program that
Yes.
needs absolute, like, of course we can talk about the convocation center, all that stuff, but like the investments are being made, right? There's a new facility coming. There's new promise on the horizon. It starts with tearing this thing down and investing in somebody like Austin Clonch, who has big time experience, but also as time as Nichols, right, as a successful head coach at the mid-major level. So it's very promising what I'm seeing so far, but just don't expect them to have, move heaven and earth year one.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say before we move on, they might be one of the only men's teams in Texas to be playing a zone as much as they do. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but they played a lot of 2-3.
Oh, Baylor was trying for there for a bit.
Baylor. I don't even have Baylor on the docket.
No, I
Baylor,
mean, we don't talk about Baylor, but we can talk about them another time.
Yeah, we could talk about them another time. But Baylor loses to UConn, and they are now 23rd in KenPom. I'm not sure they should be ranked. They should be ranked.
They should be ranked.
But damn, it's hard. Damn, it's hard to love. It's hard to. I don't know. We'll see. We have 3 weeks till conference play. That's when I think we'll talk about Baylor a little bit more. But it's been very rough for the Baylor Bears now. Let's talk about Texas. We've talked about Texas quite a bit, but I think this was a really good win here for them over NC State on the road, 63-59.
Mm-hmm.
This was a really, really good win.
Yeah.
But this was a really good win. And Texas is going to continue to get wins like this and make the case that they should be like a 5-6 seed in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, at this point, I don't know what the AP poll, I haven't looked into it, but like they probably should be close to being ranked at this point.
Yeah.
I know their schedule, we've talked about it, is not incredibly difficult at all, but they've beaten Syracuse, St. Joe's, and NC State now, and they've won 7 straight. So I'm good with whatever you want to tell me. And they do play UConn in 3 days, so we'll evaluate that.
I was about to say that's going to be a very interesting game because UConn obviously is rebuilding themselves, but they just looked really good for most of the game against Baylor until kind of the end there. They had a great start again. They had a fantastic start, at least against Baylor. Ohio State's also lost a couple, so that loss is looking,
Do you expect them to beat UConn at home? They're going to be favored, I think.
Yeah, I think I do. I think right now I have them. Because like, I don't know. I think it's a trend until last night or whenever the Baylor, I forgot, was it last night or 2 nights ago?
Last night.
The vibes at UConn weren't great, right? But also I want to be like, those tournaments are also weird, right? So like, I don't want to take too much from like, Dan Hurley is looking crazy on the sideline. It's like, I don't know, man. Those tournaments are always weird anyway. But still rebuilding UConn team, I do think that they'll have the best player on the floor. In Trey Johnson. I don't know. The one thing I think this game in particular showed me was that they have, if Trey Johnson isn't going nuclear, they can still kind of get some things done, right? I think he only had 18? Yeah, 18 in this game. Arthur Kaluma came up huge on the boards. Looking at Jordan Pope as well. Tremont Mark doing Tremont Mark stuff, right? He's able to be that secondary guy, generate his shot. But this wasn't a crazy scoring game from him either. And so it was like, I think that there is a little bit more defensive identity than I gave Rodney Terry credit for installing this year, especially. So I don't know. I think I would have them favored right now because what I'm seeing from them are answering a lot of questions that I had coming into the season.
Yeah, they're defending just at such a high level right now. It's really impressive. So that's the biggest thing is they don't. I thought if Trey Johnson doesn't go nuclear, I thought they would really struggle. And, this wasn't a comfortable win by any means, but it was the defense to get this win on the road is really impressive. So Trey Johnson, it's really incredible how much he is shooting the ball.
He had 2 shots. One of them, I think it was like midway through or almost the end of the first quarter. One of them was like, it reminded me of a Kevin Durant, like, backs you one dribble into the post, turn around jump shot. Mm-hmm. It looked like so smooth. And then like the next possession, he just came down and jacked a 3, like with like 3 seconds into the shot clock or something. And he hit it. And it was like, oh my God, like this kid's incredible. Like, I don't know, the smoothness of his, I was going to say,
I see Devin Booker.
It's a little bit, right? Where it's like, it's just like there's smoothness to his mid-range game and how he how he gets to his spots. That's something that you just don't see a lot of at this level as a freshman.
Yeah.
It was really when he hit that one dribble step, like I said, post right into a turnaround jump shot where I was like, oh my God, like that looked like legitimate looked like Carmelo Anthony, freshman Syracuse, where you're just like, oh, like nobody guards this kid. Like nobody can guard this kid. So I'm very excited to see where he goes. But the fact that Texas has that identity or defensive identity around him too, like it allows him to maybe not, like you said, not have that big pressure on him every single night.
Yeah. And he'll continue to shoot the ball a lot, but I think to your point of the pressure of you don't have to go 10 of 20. You don't have to shoot 50%. Like if you're off a little bit, you'll be fine. But he shot 4 of 6 from 3 also last night, so that helps as well. Yeah, we just threw out Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Carmelo Anthony names when talking about Trey Johnson.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Like it's
tell you what we think about him.
He's like, and you know what? We've had our questions about Rodney Terry. I don't know if this happens under another head coach because we know Rodney Terry can give players that green light and give them that comfortability to do their thing. Going back to UTEP, right? You know, we talked about maybe they didn't reach certain ceilings at UTEP, but like those guys were able to score and they were able to have their way. So like, I'll give them credit where credit's due.
Yeah. All right, flipping it to the women's side. We got to start with some bad news, unfortunately. Maddie Scherr announced will be redshirting for TCU. This was a player that we expected when they took her. You know, we expected it to be like a combination with her, Madison Connor, Haley Van Lith, Donovan Hunter, Jovanovic is still on the team. But now that she's out for the year, we don't have to like be like, oh well, what does it look like if Maddie Scherr comes back and whatnot? That was the question. She's going to be sidelined, so what we're seeing is what we're getting.
Yep.
There's nothing else coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
Does this change anything like at all for you?
Not really. There was some intrigue definitely to where it was like, oh, like could this team be even better potentially, which like that's a great place to be in, right? I think like they were already looking like, we mentioned it, one of the top team in the Big 12. And we were just like, oh, what if they get their player back? Do they look even better? And it's like, I think that there's nothing wrong with being one of the favorites in the Big 12. Like maybe does that, if you want to ask me if that keeps them maybe from possibly punching into the top 5 in the country, then yeah, maybe. Like I don't, we'll see this weekend. Definitely. I'm actually trying to go to that game against South Carolina. We'll have a good gauge there what the ceiling is of this team. But if the ceiling is top 10, top 8 instead of top 5, I think that's still incredible. And it also wasn't a guarantee that she would have fit right away either, right? There's always that thing of like messing up something good. That brings extra complications in the rotation. Like you mentioned, now we know that at the very least, they look like a top 15, top 10 team in the country. So I think he'll take it. It's just a bummer, obviously, for her, all conference caliber guard that could have made this team potentially even better. But I think if anything, that gives you promise for next year, because now even post Haley Van Lith, post Sedona Prince, like, okay, TCU has their building block heading into next year. Yeah.
And Madison Connor, is this her last year as well?
That's a good question. I'll have to see her eligibility.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, like you said, I think you laid it out well. We've talked about this TCU team, but I do think the question in terms of they have to play their starters so many minutes in these in these games against top teams.
Yeah,
like go back to the Notre Dame game. They all played. Was it like 30?
Looks like everybody's at least. I don't know if they have eligibility, but like everybody's listed as a senior except for Big B, Aaliyah Roberson, and Deja Turner, who aren't bad. Like those are good building blocks to have with Maddie Scherr. Obviously, he's had no problem going into the portal, but that's not a bad core coming back, especially if you add Maddie Scherr to that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was my only thing is they have to play their starters so many minutes in these big games, which
good point.
Good work, but we'll see moving forward.
Yeah.
Also on the women's side, I watched Texas Tech and Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about Texas Tech on this podcast before, the women's team on this podcast before, and I thought this was a really nice win.
It wasn't it? Like I sent you that result, and I was like, "Is there?" Because we were worried. We're worried about Tech. We were like, "Okay, like they didn't really add
Yeah.
We were kind of hoping for like a crazy transfer class or something because it looked like Krista Gerlich needed a pretty big year to kind of show something. This is a pretty good dominating win. Like SFA is a team that if you would have told me you showed me the schedule back in June, I'd have been like, yeah, SFA can probably win that game. And Tech wins it. What was the final score?
78 to 68, 78.
Yeah, something like that. Like it was one-sided.
And they were up 20 like in the third quarter.
Yeah, like it one-sided win. All right, you gotta make it your mind if you're gonna stay up here or not, buddy. But anyway, they were up by 20 at one point in the third quarter. Yeah, come on, hurry up. And so all of a sudden, like you try to figure out, like, is Tech? I still don't know about their ceiling in the Big 12, but like I'm not as worried about them yet, right? I expected to kind of see them with A&M in my mind, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this team just, I can probably write them off. I'm not there yet. Defensively, they've been really good as well. 67th in the country as far as effective opponent's field goal percentage. So
yeah, the Gonzaga win, which I thought Gonzaga was going to be better this year. Gonzaga is not good at all. They're 4-5 overall. So that I'm still trying to process like a good team on the schedule here. We haven't quite seen like a Big 12 caliber team. They have SMU. They should beat SMU pretty comfortably.
And I don't think we'll see that. I was about to say, I don't think we'll see that until Big 12 play, really. I mean, you know what?
What?
They got Lamar. They got Lamar.
And Lamar might be better than – well, Lamar almost beat SMU. Arguably should have beat SMU, first of all. Arkansas might be the worst team in the SEC.
You know what I use this Lamar game for? How good is their inside?
Yeah.
How good is their inside? Because that was the one thing that I think we both were very curious
in the games, the two Texas Tech games that we've seen most of or all of, they've shot the ball very, very well from three.
Yes. I think that's one thing that they definitely will be good at is everybody on this team can almost basically shoot.
And so with that being the case, I need to see what it looks like when those shots don't go in against a decent team.
Geez, they're 26th in the country in three-pointers attempted.
What are they in percentage?
They are.
They gotta be fairly high.
I was about to say 182. Yeah.
Okay.
30%.
Blacklock can still shoot the heck out the ball. She only plays 15 minutes, but 3 of 5 from three. I love watching her. Then you have like a Jasmine Shavers who went 6 of 15, but for 15 points. I thought that was one of her better games. Jordan Merritt, one of her better games that I've seen. So like, Bailey Maupin is still finding, like, I think she might bring the 3-point percentage down a little bit. Like she's struggled, I think.
I was about to say she's struggling from three. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have the season stats in front of me, but yeah, that's just
only 22% from three.
Yeah. Maupin's struggled this year. So again, I don't feel terribly different about this team than I felt early in the year.
I don't feel worse about them.
They haven't, but they haven't bottomed out. They haven't fallen apart. They've stayed together. They've beaten SFA. They've beaten Florida or a Gonzaga team. Now they should beat SMU. They should beat Arkansas. Both those games on the road, so it's not easy. But you should win those games, and then you have Lamar and Houston, or Lamar, and then you start conference play. So good win. Good win. Definitely want to give them credit there.
Got it done.
We'll see how they are moving forward. We got to give Texas A&M their credit. Ish. They beat
I guess Syracuse.
So. And they did what we said they had to do to beat anybody with a pulse.
Yeah.
You just got to make it ugly. You have to absolutely bad boys 90 this thing into a win. Yeah. And they did it. They beat Syracuse 57-45. Syracuse shot 27% from the field. Janae can't hit a couple threes. They made some shots, but all that matters is holding the team to 45 points. So give them credit for beating Syracuse, even if Syracuse is not a great team this year. I didn't think they would win games like this, even against bad teams. I thought they would lose to a Syracuse, but they got it done.
Yeah, they got it done. I mean, like I said, held them to 27% shooting. So big credit there.
Syracuse beat the heck out of Missouri early this year. And Missouri's not great, but that's,
I was about to say, this is where A&M's at, where we're like, can they beat Missouri? Yeah, they probably can beat Missouri now. Like,
yeah. So that's like, in Arkansas and Missouri, like, can A&M fight out of being last in the SEC? That's what we're judging right now. And That's a good win. Let me look at their upcoming schedule here, but like that's what every game has to be. And I did want to just briefly mention it. They have Kansas State next, so that's not looking good.
Oh boy,
Sunday is a big day for us.
Oh, Sunday is gonna be fantastic across the country.
Oh my Lord, I'm just.
Well, heck, we're recording on Texas and Notre Dame Day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's SEC ACC Challenge. I'm going to LSU Stanford, so yeah, I'll have that up as well.
There you go.
But yeah, it's A&M's next games. Dude, I didn't even see this. I didn't even see LSU lost to Ball State. I shouldn't have opened the schedule. I shouldn't have opened the schedule. This is like, oh my gosh. This is like when you see a picture. Oh my god. No, I'm not even gonna. I didn't know they lost to Ball State. Wow. Lost to Ball State. We lost to Villanova, but anyways, sorry. I just saw that and it took me aback.
It's not great. It's not great. It's not great.
All right, anyways, Kansas State up next, Texas Southern, Mississippi Valley. That rounds out play. And then we talked about before, you start SEC play with
hold on for dear life.
Ole Miss, South Carolina, Oklahoma. Kentucky, LSU. That's 6 of their first 7.
Life.
Texas 2 games later.
Put your seatbelts on in Reed Coliseum because you're gonna need them.
Good Lord.
If you're even going to any games at Reed Coliseum this season for the women.
It's just the yell leaders. It's just the yell leaders. I promise you, I watched the games and the yell leaders over there like, yes.
Yeah.
No, that's it. That's all there is. Last game. UT Arlington beat Houston women's basketball.
Yeah, that was the one I texted you over, and I was like,
a battle of 2-6 teams, I believe it was.
Yeah,
and Houston couldn't get it done. 61-57. Houston just can't score the basketball, and it's just painful, even against a UT Arlington team that is not great. Not great at all. UTA has honestly disappointed me a good amount this year. I thought they've
been very bad. Yeah, I didn't realize how bad they've been.
They've had Avery Brittingham still. They have Zoe Nelson still.
Do you know UTA is 300th in field goal percentage?
Yeah,
they are awful. 336 in effective field goal percentage, and they beat Houston.
That's where we are right now. And I looked up. I was like, where does Bart Torvik have Houston? That was my guess.
Yeah. And
it's way higher than they should be. That's way higher. They're 170th in Bart Torvik right now.
That's very high. That's a lot.
UT Arlington is 228.
Which is about right. That may be, honestly, that may be too high, just based off what we were seeing from the season. From both of them.
Just like, I don't think there's 150 teams worse than Houston right now.
I don't think so either. There's 194. They're 194 in her hoops ratings.
I'm like, well, first of all, A&M
honestly, is this just Layla Blair? Like, because like her numbers are really good right now. Like advanced metrics wise, like she's like actually doing okay. But like, is she just holding this whole thing together with like super glue?
I mean, our UTA just sat in a zone. Houston couldn't beat the zone. Layla Blair had to shoot over it. She made some shots. Yeah. But there's justice
no for Layla Blair.
There's no cohesion. We don't advocate for players to transfer, but if there was one.
I mean, at this point, it's like how long before they make a move? Like, you know,
they won't fire him during this.
No, but I'm just saying like because one, Houston men's basketball, obviously different resources, different levels of success, but they showing that they have money to go get this signing class that they just got, right? Like, so you have to imagine, and then in football as well, they got Willie Fritz, right? They're willing to invest in talent.
Yeah, it's not a poor school here.
Right, exactly. So that's what I'm trying to get at. And if honestly, here's the thing, if Tillman Fertitta's trying to get a WNBA team to Houston, right? Dog, you better fix what's going on at your backyard right now. Like, much less trying to get much less trying to get the Comets back. I would love to see the Comets back, but like you got a program right now that should be getting some investment. And I don't know. That's where. Hello, buddy. I need you to stop this. He heard my rant on Houston. He's like, I agree. You got to get to a point where if you want a WNBA team, but your basketball team's floundering, like, it's like you said, this isn't a poor program.
No, this is it's definitely going to happen. I mean, it has to happen this year. It has to be a hard reset, and it has to be. I will say, like, whatever coaching search they do has to encompass some pretty big names, like relatively. So. Like, they need to show that they're actually serious about this, and you need to go get. I don't have a name off the top of my head, but like A&M went and got Joni Taylor. We can argue about if that's a good hire or not, but like they went and got an SEC
the Georgia head coach, right?
Yeah, they went and got the Georgia head coach. Like, you got to go get somebody. Is what I'm saying, and so that's kind of situation Houston.
And here's the thing: I also don't want to put this all on Ron Huey because, like, I don't think that they've given him a lot of resources to make splashes. Right? The fact that Kateri Poole was probably the most high level transfer that they were able to get, like. That also shows a lack of resources given too. So, like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, they're not playing well under him, but I also wonder if it's like that's the talent level was like the best he kind of worked with, and they're just not supplying him with what he needed to win. So I don't know. I think it's a two-way thing here. I do think a break is coming, but I do wonder like how much it was Houston waiting for the next thing to drop as before they really like give them the resources to work with.
Yeah. Any guesses as to what UTA's 3-point percentage is on the year?
25. I don't know.
Oh boy, it is 16.
Oh my god.
17 for 107.
That's disgusting.
In 8 games. Like again, this starting 5. I knew all these names coming into the year.
Sure,
and like I thought this 5 was actually going to be pretty good. I don't know what my season prediction was, but Coy Love, Avery Burdingham, Zoe Nelson, Talia Clark, Nia Threat. I thought that
these
5
players we know.
It's not like they just went and grabbed some girls off the streets here to play for them. I thought they were actually going to have some players here, and they did win this game. So give them some credit. They're 3-5 now, but I had them at 10-6 in conference. You had them at 8-8 in conference. So like maybe they can get back to that. Because like, let me try to find a glimmer of hope here. Their losses have been to Arizona, La Tech, Arkansas, Purdue, SMU. So they've lost to some. Now they only beat A&M Corpus Christi by A&M. It's not A&M Commerce anymore. Sorry, East Texas A&M. Only beat them by 2. And they only beat Houston by 4. So I don't know what we're working with, but maybe they can figure it out a little bit. I don't know how good. I mean, the WAC is decent. Yeah, they're probably not going to get to eight wins in conference anymore. But yeah, that's the UTA update there. That's another kind of disappointing-ish team to this point.
Yep.
And that's it. That's all I had. Like you said, it's a big weekend for basketball, it feels like here. We mentioned those December 8th games. You mentioned the December 5th games. I mean, Texas and Notre Dame started what, 6?
Yeah, I think 6 o'clock.
Like so
even some interesting ones, and like they're not high profile like the women, right? Of course, TCU, South Carolina, we mentioned this weekend. But TCU Xavier on the men's side, right? I think TCU again. They've kind of been, but again, I think that's a team that I didn't have insanely high expectations for. Them versus Xavier is going to be a good matchup. I'm trying to think of anything else from the men's side.
I think the Southland starts up. RGV and SFA play. Like they have those 2 games things that they do in the beginning of December where they play 2 conference games and then go back to non-conference.
Yeah, Houston and Butler on Saturday. So that's going to be interesting. I think SMU opens up ACC as well because they get Virginia, which obviously is not normal Virginia because Tony Bennett retired. So
even with Tony Bennett last year, they were.
That's a good point. Yeah, they weren't very good last year.
But yeah, we'll see. I think we've talked about most teams in the state. Like SMU men's. I don't know if we talked about a lot, but it's really just been a lot of Boopy Miller. It really hasn't been anything shocking to this point. I don't think from SMU they've been inconsistent. I think they're a fine team.
Okay, so on the men's side, Sunday, I forgot it was Tech A&M. It's TCU Vanderbilt, Texas UConn, Texas State Rice. Sunday is going to be fun on both sides. Obviously, high level on the women's side and kind of mid-major, some interesting things. Not mid-major, but mid-level success teams on the men's side. So
cool. Yeah. Well, our Monday podcast will be very fun. We'll probably just do a regular podcast Monday then, and then do superlatives on Thursday, and we'll go from there. So
we'll see. Let's do it.
Thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on the audio side if you're listening over there. We appreciate you all for joining us, and we'll be back on Monday to recap a very, very fun week. So till then, we will talk to y'all later.